Treasurer of the Broward County Hispanic Bar Association. I have the pleasure today of interviewing Judge Rodriguez as he was selected for our Judge of the Month on June 2021. I hope you enjoy the interview. So good morning, Judge Rodriguez, and thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us when you first took the bench and what division you're currently assigned to?
Okay, well, it's Carlos Rodriguez, and I took the bench in March 2nd of 2009. I was appointed by Governor Charlie Crist in late 2008, closed my practice, and started off in the criminal division where I was assigned for 2 years. And then at about 2 years, I went to the family division and dependency. And then juvenile for about a year, a little over a year in juvenile, which I enjoyed juvenile and I enjoyed the criminal division. Family, I had asked to do, it's just too emotional. A judge in family is just emotionally drained at the end of the day, and it was just kind of overwhelming, you know, all the children and you know, every day is just a fight. So anyway, from there, I asked to go to the civil division, and I was assigned to the civil division where I've been now for 7 years.
Okay, great. And we'll go back to your experience as a judge, but I kind of want to cover a little bit about your family's background and how they came to the United States. So if you can give us a little bit.
Sure. I was 5 at the time when we left Cuba, and my dad was an airline pilot for Cubana. And back, you know, the first year after Castro took over, your family could still leave on a visa, but you had to leave one immediate family member behind. So once my dad figured out what was going on, and he figured that out because Castro nationalized the airline, Cubana, took it, you know, it was owned by Pan Am, and he just nationalized it, and that was the end of that. And then my dad, all of a sudden, Russian MiGs started showing up at the airport, and he's having to learn to fly and teach other pilots how to fly MiGs, which are warplanes, of course. And then, you know, he's having to take Che Guevara down to South America. He had one trip where he had to take Che Guevara down to South America to stir up South America. So he saw what was coming before it was totally in place. So what he did is he sent us over. We were in New York, went to New York on a tourist visa, my mom, my sister, and I, my mom, Estella, and my sister, Estella, and myself. And while we were in New York, his regular commercial flight was from Havana to New York to Madrid. So when he got to New York on his next flight, he just stepped off the airplane. The plane was delayed, of course, and he asked for political asylum. And that's how we entered the country. And then you know, we had to go through the whole process of becoming citizens, which took about 2 years, and we became U.S. citizens about 2 years later. So that's how we got here. When we got here, he tried to become an airline pilot with Pan Am, and he was going to have to start as a navigator again. And at that point, I think he was 35 or 36, and he didn't want to do that. So his hobby in Cuba was scuba diving, and he turned that into his profession here in the United States. He has an underwater color film from Cuba that I have now that shows him scuba diving in Cuba in 1959, and it's underwater color. The camera is about the size of a what would it be the size of? Probably the size of a lawnmower, I would say. Probably is a good description in a plexiglass case, and I have the underwater film that he did. So that became his job here in the U.S. He became an instructor when he was in California, NAUI, YMCA, and PADI instructor.
So what made you decide that you wanted to become a judge?
Well, I was always exposed to the scuba diving because of him. So I was certified as an instructor early on. At age 21, I was an assistant at age 18, and I learned to scuba dive at age 11. I was certified. So I was exposed to a lot of lawyers that were taking his scuba classes. From California, he was offered and became Urbano Rodriguez became the aquatic director at the YMCA downtown in Fort Lauderdale. And a lot of the judges, you know, Pat Kokalis is one that comes to mind, state attorneys like Ralph Ray, Peter Laporte, and Rob Carney, a lot of different judges and state attorneys took us. So I was exposed during my teenage years to a lot of the courthouse personnel. And then my junior year at Fort Lauderdale High School, I was dating Kathy Tedder, who was George Tedder Jr.'s daughter. And we went out for 3 years, almost got married, but we went to different schools and did not get married. And I was exposed to Judge Tedder all the time, and I could see his constant effort to be fair and think about cases. And he was really quite a gentleman as well and really just a smart guy. And but the main thing I remember about him is he was a gentleman, and he was always trying to do the right thing, trying to do the fair thing. So I saw what a judge does, and I was really impressed by it. So that's kind of my first exposure to it, and what really I think got me motivated to want to be a judge.
And can you tell us a little bit about what your experience was coming out of law school as far as like in actual practice as an attorney?
Yep. Well, since I had taught Peter Laporte, who was the chief assistant public defender at the time, Al Schreiber hired me as an intern before I started law school. I had graduated from Furman magna cum laude, and I had, I knew Pete, and Pete said, "Hey, why don't you do an internship with us?" It was a paid internship, so it's hard to turn down. At the time, the summers before, I'd been working at Sears, and both in sales and unloading boxcars. So that seemed like a pretty good alternative to that. So I went to work there, and I was assigned to Greg Pomeroy as his intern. And Greg was just shocked when he learned that I hadn't even been to law school. He was more like horrified, I would say, but it worked out well. And I worked there as an intern for the 3 summers. And then when I graduated from University of Florida Law School, I got hired as an attorney and assistant public defender. Started in misdemeanor. Then from misdemeanor, I went into felony, assigned to Judge Moe, Judge Kaplan, Judge Futch were some of the divisions. And the way Schreiber would promote people is he'd assign you to give you difficult assignments, and he would count the number of trials that you had every year. And, I was assigned to Judge Futch, which was a tough division for the public defender. And I had one of the higher numbers of trials. So I got promoted to chief assistant after 3 years. I was a chief assistant in charge of training and misdemeanors. So did that for 2 years, tried a first-degree murder case and some capital cases, capital sex bat cases. And then I got hired by a civil firm that had seen one of my trials. Fred Fazio saw one of my trials, and he decided he'd make me a job offer. After 5 years, I had done just about everything in criminal, so I switched over to civil and did civil trials, insurance defense, and some plaintiff's work. And I was there for a little over 2 years, and then I opened my own practice, Carlos A. Rodriguez, PA, and I did that, and I was the trial attorney for another law firm called the Metegan Law Firm, law offices of Diana Metegan, and they did only insurance defense. I did that for 10 years, and I kind of ran their office and supervised 6 lawyers. Then when that law firm, she moved back to Chicago, I went back to Carlos A. Rodriguez, PA, and that's what I was doing. I was appointed, doing some criminal. As a matter of fact, I'd been appointed on 4 first-degree murder cases that went to trial. All 4 of them did by Judge Kaplan. I was assigned to Kaplan's division, so he wanted to see me every now and then, so he'd appoint me on these first-degree murder cases. And I tried, 3 of them were in front of him that I tried. So, I got that experience, plus doing, plaintiff's work and insurance defense. The last big, huge case that I had was a case that was a commercial litigation case that went on for 4 years. And, that was just a huge case that ended up settling. And then at that point, I figured if I'm going to put in for judge, now's the time to do it, because, the salary is not what you make in civil or what you make in the practice. So that's
great that you have such extensive trial experience. I can tell you as an attorney, that's something that's very important to people on the other side of the bench.
Yeah, I've had over 200 jury trials as an attorney, because when I was doing the defense work for that insurance company, I was trying about 20 cases, 15 to 20 a year. And when I was in the public defender's office, at least until I was when I was chief assistant, I was probably trying 5 cases, 4 or 5. But before that, I was trying again about 15 cases a year. So, tried a lot of jury trials.
So, what has been the most important life experience for you in informing, like, your service on the bench?
Well, one of the things obviously was I had an election. I was appointed in 2008, and I had an election in 2010. So, during that time, I really had to go everywhere in Broward County, and that's when you realize how big Broward County is: south, north, west, east. All different communities, all different groups. So you see the diversity of Broward County. And you meet a lot of people. You meet a lot of community leaders. You meet a lot of people. You meet a lot of people that ask you to take care of their tickets for them. And you tell them, hey, I can't take care of your ticket for you. I don't do that. That can't be done. So, but you do get a real exposure to how diverse Broward County is. And, there's at that time, there were over 1 million or right at 1 million voters. So you really have to, kind of go around and meet a lot of people. The other experience was I married Marina Garcia Wood, who's a circuit court judge as well. And, she was raised in Miami, and I was raised in Fort Lauderdale. So that's been kind of an eye-opening for the Cuban culture for me, because frankly, she knows a lot more about Cuban culture than I do. So that's been a real learning experience. And then just being on the bench, seeing all the problems that people have in criminal, in family, in civil, and just the way people conduct themselves kind of makes you happy you don't have all those problems. So that's been a real eye opener. And also patience. You really have to be patient as a judge, because people do weird things in front of you. Plus, there's cultural differences. One culture reacts a certain way as compared to the American culture, and you got to have some flexibility, understanding that people react differently. And we all know that Cubans are very emotional, and I have to really calm that down.
I can attest to that, being Cuban myself. So has your experience as an immigrant or as a Hispanic helped you in understanding those cultural differences, seeing it from the bench?
It has, mainly because I saw it in the community. I see it in myself. It's easy to get, you have to calm yourself down and maybe take a break and all that, rather than getting emotional about what's going on in front of you. And you really have to develop a lot of patience as a judge, and you really need to think things through and all that good stuff. It's not an easy job, I will say that. It's different than being an attorney. You get rid of some headaches, but then you pick up another set of headaches, as it is.
Well, and thank you for being with us today, Judge Rodriguez, and thank you for being so insightful as to your views on the bench, and for your service for so many years.
I enjoy the job. The bottom line is it's different, but I enjoy it, and I enjoyed criminal, I enjoyed juvenile, and I'm enjoying civil. So I'm generally a happy person. I try to be kind and as nice as you can be, considering that, in civil, you always have one person that doesn't win, and you have to be considerate and as nice as you can be. So I try to do that.
Well, thank you again, and like I said, we look forward to many more years with you on the bench. So.
All right. Thank you so much.